this question does not have a name attached to it. So we're going to call this person anonymous. So anonymous writes in that they have been working on building their rental portfolio for over the past 7 years. I hold them all in my name. Should I have an LLC for each of my investment properties? And they don't say how many investment properties, but they've been building a portfolio for over the past 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what would the answer for that be? Should I have an LLC for each of my investment properties?
Um, First of all, you should definitely have an LLC created uh, because holding these properties individually in your own personal name exposes you both legally and financially. So kudos to Anonymous for actually, just saying, hey, to be looking at a corporate, forming a corporation
Mm-hmm.
to hold these properties. So that's number one. Number two, it's important that you get with Anonymous. Anonymous should get with their CPA as well as their attorney to talk about the real estate portfolio um, with regards to exposure. So LLCs or limited liability companies definitely reduce legal exposure in the event that there's a lawsuit. You can have, it's personal preference, but you could have one company per LLC. You could create one limited liability company for each property that they own. It's kind of an administrative nightmare. You could have, I have clients who have, let's say, 10 LLCs for each property that they own, but then they own one property management company.
Okay.
So the property management company deals with all the administrative issues, et cetera, related to the LLCs. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's personal preference. I like to say, like, on average, you should have no more than 3 properties per LLC. But again, that's my personal preference because I don't like having all that administrative nightmare
Right.
and headaches. Uh, but in general, just, you know, Anonymous should have a limited liability company and they should determine with their CPA and attorney their comfort level of how many properties they want to place in their corporation. That's it.
Okay.
That's What do you think about that, Blair? I know we've had
Mm-hmm.
that discussion quite often, a lot. It's always on people's minds who
Sure.
are real estate investors.
No, so my CPA's response to that, and my CPA sort of he would take the general public, but he's sort of like niched his business toward real estate investors, and he's an
Yeah.
investor himself. And his advice is to not put one property pull per LLC. So what he's advised us to do is to put three to four per
Right.
LLC, and then that way it breaks up your portfolio, but it doesn't become like you called it an administrative nightmare. You know, that's probably what he would refer to it as well, because you have to now you've got all of these different entities that you have to file taxes on every single year, and you have to manage all of that. And so he thinks, so his viewpoint is it is unnecessary to have one property and one LLC, and to create an LLC per property.
Mhm.
But I have seen people do it. So I purchased one property recently from a landlord who is local, and he owns over 30 single family homes, and he's
Mhm.
now selling off his portfolio. And so when he was telling me about his properties, he does hold each individual house in an individual LLC. So that might be interesting to hear from him, who has, maybe 34 different LLCs, because he has one per property. So just to get his opinion on, how did that go for you?
Right.
you know?
I think it's a comfort level and how much
Mhm.
time you want to spend on it. And
Sure.
if you do each property, administrative headaches, can be reduced if you
Hmm.
give that responsibility, let's say, to a CPA, but you need separate accounts for each unit,
Yep.
right?
Hmm.
And separate LLC operating agreements. I mean, it can be a little overwhelming. Like I said, I like 3 per LLC. To me,
Okay.
that's manageable.
Yep. That sounds
So,
reasonable.
but good for Anonymous for thinking about an LLC, right?
Hmm.
And I definitely encourage having a limited liability company for every real estate investor
Mm-hmm.
who is, actively engaged in real estate investing. That's it.